Welcome back to the channel, where today we're diving into a powerful and captivating story. It's a story about visionaries who shaped the future of an entire continent, Africa. From the struggle for independence to the dream of a united and prosperous Africa, these leaders played pivotal roles in our shared history. But as with all powerful movements, there were triumphs, betrayals, and untold legacies. Let's explore how Africa's revolutionary leaders ignited the Pan-African flame and why their dreams still influence us today. In the early 20th century, Africa was largely under colonial rule. European powers had divided the continent into borders that ignored the rich tapestry of cultures and identities. But from these conditions, a vision emerged, one of unity, freedom, and shared prosperity. This vision became known as Pan-Africanism. Leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois and Kwame Nkrumah began to articulate a dream that Africa, despite its colonial divisions, could unite, become one strong, independent continent, free from the oppression of foreign powers. Fast forward to 1957, Ghana, under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, became the first African country to gain independence from colonial rule. Nkrumah wasn't just focused on freeing Ghana. His eyes were set on the entire continent. He famously said, "We face neither east nor west, we face forward." Nkrumah's vision was bold, an Africa united politically, economically, and socially. He pushed for the creation of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, in 1963, a move that brought many African nations together to fight for collective progress. But not all African leaders found their paths easy. Fast forward to South Africa, where apartheid, state-enforced racial segregation, ruled the land. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison fighting this system. When he was finally released in 1990, the world was watching. South Africa's transition from apartheid to a democratic society became a beacon of hope for all of Africa. Mandela's leadership wasn't about revenge. Instead, he focused on reconciliation, bringing together a fractured nation and setting the tone for African diplomacy. His belief in Ubuntu, the philosophy that I am because we are, inspired not only South Africa but the whole continent. His efforts towards peace and democracy showed Africa and the world that even the darkest struggles can be overcome with unity and vision. In the heart of West Africa, a revolutionary leader named Thomas Sankara took charge of Burkina Faso in 1983. Sankara was no ordinary leader. He was the voice of radical change. He sought to break the chains of dependency on the West, implemented massive reforms to empower the people, and promoted gender equality long before it was popular. He became known as Africa's Che Guevara. His bold, visionary stance was clear. Africa needed to stand on its own 2 feet. Across the Red Sea, Ethiopia's Emperor Haile Selassie was another giant in the Pan-Africa. In 1936, he addressed the League of Nations, condemning Italy's invasion of Ethiopia. His plea for help was ignored by the international community, but Ethiopia stood strong as one of the few African nations never colonized. Selassie's call for African unity resonated across the continent. He was a key architect of the OAU, and though his reign faced challenges, he remains an icon of Africa's resistance against imperialism and the symbol of a united continent. Not all the dreams of Africa's leaders survived. Many of them faced coups, betrayals, or turned into dictatorships. Leaders like Robert Mugabe, once hailed as a liberator, became symbols of corruption and failure as Zimbabwe spiraled into economic collapse. Although Mugabe's early fight for liberation earned him worldwide respect, his later years were marred by economic mismanagement, human rights abuses, and political oppression. His story is a painful reminder of how power can corrupt even the most revolutionary ideals. Today, Africa is still a continent of contrasts. While some nations continue to struggle with political instability and corruption, others are rising. Young leaders, grassroots movements, and activists are breathing new life into Pan-Africanism. There's a new wave of political leaders and entrepreneurs, from Rwanda's Paul Kagame to Kenya's youthful activism, pushing for change, democracy, and sustainable development. Africa is no longer just a place of struggle, but one of opportunity. The new Pan-African dream is about harnessing Africa's potential, its youth, its resources, and its culture. From the tech hubs of Lagos to the fashion and art scenes of Johannesburg, Africa is embracing a bold future. The Pan-African dream is far from over. It's a vision that has been passed down through generations of leaders, revolutionaries, and dreamers. But the question remains, will the leaders of tomorrow be able to unite Africa in ways that Nkrumah, Mandela, and Sankara only dreamed of? One thing is certain, Africa's future is in the hands of those who dare to dream, fight, and build. Will you be a part of it? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Africa's revolutionary leaders, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think will be the next visionary to lead Africa into its future? See you in